You've taken the time to pour your energy into building a brand that stands for something real. But now everyone's talking about podcast as the key to visibility. And you can't help but wonder, is it worth the effort? Will it just add to your already packed to-do list? Or can it fuel the growth that you've been working toward? In this episode, I'm sitting down with Stefanie Gass, a Christian business and podcast coach who's built a seven-figure business by turning meaningful conversations into income and impact. Stefanie helps women grow their online businesses and make consistent income through podcasting. As the host of Online Business for Christian Women, a top 20 globally ranked podcast, she shows how it's possible to create impact and income without sacrificing family, faith, or falling into the social media hustle. Stefanie breaks down how podcasting can connect you with the right audience, build trust, and align with your mission without spreading yourself thin. Whether you're thinking of starting your own podcast or guesting on others, she'll share how to leverage this platform to grow sustainably and strategically. Tune in, my friends, and listen in to how you can record one message that opens doors worldwide and help you share the mission you've worked so hard to build. Let's go. Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Stay tuned and be a part of a movement that's setting new benchmarks in how we think about progress, community, and doing. Let's innovate, impact, and inspire. So I'm really excited to have with us today Steph Gass. I am a proud member of one of her programs, and I really just want to thank you for joining, Steph. Thank you.
Of course, Felicia. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And my producer sometimes jokes with me because I often say, "Hey, friends." And so hearing you, I told him I'm not alone. I am not.
Yeah, you probably learned it from me. I've been doing that for the past 6 years of podcasting. Hey, friend. Happy Tuesday.
It's my normal speaking voice. Like, I really
Yes.
approach people in that way. So I am excited for my listeners to also hop over and hear you. But let's dig in because we've
Okay.
got some incredible things to speak with you about today. But our audience are change makers. We're out in the community. We're doing things in nonprofits. We're doing things with social responsibility. And some of those who are building community through these grassroots efforts aren't aware that, they can use podcasting as an extension of their brand. So if you can share with us, what are the ways, Steph, that
Yeah,
podcasting can benefit change makers and other business owners?
absolutely. I think so often we think of podcasting as just some kind of business tool or something that some fancy people somewhere do. And it seems like this big, scary, elusive thing.
Right.
And I'm here to share that podcasting is really just an audio version of maybe how you perceive social media. Like,
Mhm.
okay, social, I'll share about my movement, I'll share about my nonprofit there. And then maybe hopefully someone randomly will see this thing and want to take part in it or want to donate or want to share the word, right? But that's not how it works because social media is not targeted to anyone in particular. It's not being searched and found by the right people.
Mhm.
So if you think of podcasting as just a audio version of connecting with people,
Mhm.
it removes all of the weird stigma or feelings around why it shouldn't or couldn't work for you and what you guys do.
Right.
So a way that I want you to consider podcasting is, what is the goal of your nonprofit or of your movement? And then think about who would listen to an episode or a conversation even
Hmm.
around this concept. And then you position the podcast in that way so that
Hmm.
the right people who are searching for this particular movement or this particular problem or this particular solution or this particular, you know, revival or whatever the thing might be, they're going to find your podcast. And now you're actually collecting people who are really interested in the same thing that you're really interested in. And you guys can start to create bigger change. The other big piece of podcasting that I think is important is how far does pounding pavement go? Because I do know a lot of nonprofits or things like that. You think, oh, I have to just go to networking or I have to get on these one on one calls to share with
Hmm.
people the message. Podcasting is a way for you to get one message out with one recording once a week to people across the world who might be interested in
Right.
what you're doing. So the visibility potential for you is just exponential through something that's actually probably a lot easier than you think.
Right, right. Yeah, no, you just hit on something, the one to many messaging, right? The storytelling. And for those who are in the change making spaces, storytelling is a huge part of our work. For those who are fundraising, for those who are the small business owners showing up in those, like you said, networking groups. But again, we don't have time, nor should we think that that's a sustainable business model to show up everywhere and in every space. So share with us what the storytelling piece of this and how important that is in our podcasting efforts.
Absolutely. So if we go back to trying to get your message out, I want you to imagine going into a networking meeting.
Hmm.
You don't have 15 minutes to explain why you're so passionate about this thing, why you're a change maker in this space. You have 60 seconds to basically speed date, right?
Right,
Like, hey, I'm
right,
this, here's my card. Nobody cares. Business doesn't really work that way anymore.
right.
And especially when we're focused on something that's so mission based and near and dear to your heart, you really need some time. You need a platform where the right person sitting in the audience listening to you, excited to learn about what you're passionate about
Hmm.
versus like social media, same thing. You put a post up, well, that's going to be 90 seconds or less, if that, if not just a graphic of what it is you're doing. It doesn't allow for you to go deep with
Right.
people. And why podcasting is so critically important is because storytelling is what creates trust. It
Yeah.
is the thing that gets people to move when we talk about fundraising, when we talk about donations or people that want to partner with you. It's going to be the storytelling that connects them to why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
And there's no other place for you to have a platform where you are able to capture someone's attention for over 15 minutes uninterrupted. It's only audio, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because when we think about video, we know that we're really after the dopamine hit. So we're constantly swiping and clicking. We don't stay attuned to something for that long
Hmm.
unless it's on a TV screen
Hmm.
anymore.
Hmm.
But audio consumption, we are seeing the opposite. What we are seeing is that people who are consuming audibly, they are going really, really deep with those people, the host of those podcasts, because they have uninterrupted attention to something
Mm.
that they are really, really interested in. And
Right.
so it opens the doors for you in a way that we don't have anymore in today's very short focus attention span culture.
Yeah.
And then to bring it around back to storytelling, really all that your podcast is it's a way to connect. So if you think of making this really super easy and you ask yourself, what is one thing I can teach about my movement? That's something cool you could podcast about. And then inside that episode, how can I share a story that makes this relatable or meaningful? And maybe it's sharing a story of someone that you've helped, someone in the real world situation that where you are really fired up. Have that person even come on the show,
Yeah.
even better, right? This is a place where you have undivided attention and people are going to connect with you. And storytelling doesn't need to be hard. It's as if you took someone to lunch and they said, tell me about why you're really excited about this movement. And
Yeah.
you said, well, it all began here, or I met this mom and this thing happened, or I was able to create this particular thing that people were really needing, or I did this thing for animals, whatever that thing might be for you. It's just a place to connect. So storytelling is critical if you want to have fire lit underneath the thing that your nonprofit or your change making organization. You have to have storytelling, and
Yeah.
that's really the only place to do it where you really have attention.
Oh, I love that you broke it down in that way because change makers are quite familiar with fundraising and getting sponsors and partnering and having those relationships one on one. But you've just shown us the simplistic mindset shift of, oh, well, now we're recording the conversation and now we're inviting others into the conversation. And so I absolutely love that. And share with us, Steph, about guesting on others' podcasts because as a
Yeah.
change maker that's, knee deep in crisis work,
Mhm.
team, big work, small teams, they can't be everywhere. They might be thinking, oh, there is no way I can start a podcast.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what
Mhm.
about those who have not considered being a guest on a podcast? What tips would you share as far as guesting?
That is a fantastic avenue for those of you who want to get more publicity, put some fire behind your message is to go onto Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts and type in the words that is in your space,
Hmm.
right? So Felicia might type in something like crisis management or something of that nature and try to find podcasts that exist in your realm or have the audience that you would want to serve or has the donors that you would want to connect with.
Right.
Any of that is a good strategy. And hit them up and say, hey, I would love to come and be a guest on the show because I do blank. Here's why I'm passionate about it. And I can teach on blank. Love to hear from you. Very casual, not long. And look, people love to get pitched guests because it makes our job really easy as podcasters. We're like, yeah, that's a good fit. It's not something I teach on. I would love to have you here. And what that does is that just puts you in front of someone else's captivated audience. And because
Right.
they are edifying you as the guest, the transition from them hopping over to following you is really short and honestly pretty seamless.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fantastic thing. And anybody that's like, I don't have time for any of these things, I would challenge you in that to ask yourself, what are our methods of marketing right now?
Hmm.
What are we already doing? And is it proving fruitful? Is the hours that we are spending doing whatever you're doing, maybe you're writing articles, maybe you're going to networking events, maybe you're even doing paid advertising, maybe you're doing a lot of social media marketing. Ask yourself the question, am I having the growth that I need and am
Yeah.
I spending less time yet still growing my audience?
Right.
If those answers are no, I challenge you to think about, is there a better way to get my method out and maybe get rid of a few things that are wasting so much time and potentially start a podcast or potentially focus on guesting on other shows instead? I was
Right.
able to completely eliminate social media as a method of growth for multiple years. Praise God.
Yes.
And I got back 15 hours a week that I was trying to grow on social for 2 hours a week of podcasting. And the podcast is what blew up the revenue side of the business.
Yeah.
So it's not just let's keep doing what we've always done. The question is, am I doing the right thing for my business to grow in less time?
Right.
Or
Right.
this method, this ministry, this change making movement that I have, is it growing the way that I believe it's called to grow? If not,
Mhm.
look at the ways that you're spending your time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that podcasting for you has become your primary method. I am an avid listener of online business for Christian women, and I again love the fact that you have this community, you have this tool that we can use, and so Steph, I'd love to allow you to share with the listeners how they can connect with you and be a part of this experience as well.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So, like Felicia mentioned, my podcast is Online Business for Christian Women. And I really teach how to do all the things we talked about today, get a message into the world through podcasting so that it can become profit producing, whether that be through the donations or whether that be something that you want to market on your own. Lots of episodes about how to make that happen. And you can listen to that anywhere you want to listen to podcasts. And then my website is stephaniegass.com. It's StefAnieGass.com. And that has all kinds of other free resources to help you grow your ministry, business, movement, etc.
Steph, this has been incredible. I really appreciate these three pivotal ways that you can grow as a change maker with a podcast, as a guest of a podcast, and how you can get some tools and resources from Stefanie herself to help you in this direction. Thank you, Stefanie.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave a review. I'd also love to connect with you over on social. You can find me at Friends Call Me P. Until next time, keep changing the game.